bird photography, the basics. I'm Paul Abravaya. Now you see me up there. If you see me around town or anywhere, please say hi. Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on. Again, there's some basic stuff here, so we'll see. Okay, about birds. Okay, here we see a red-shouldered hawk in flight. That was a tough shot. He's kind of backlit, but anyway, you never know what you're going to see. Birds come in all sizes. Some are large, some are small, hummingbirds to pelicans. Some are slow, and you'll see them in flight. You'll see them still, on bushes, in trees, on the ground, and in the water. Now, I want to point this out real quick. The LA Times, May 9th, 2020, you could probably go to the Times website and get this article, Get to Know the Neighbors. It's about how to find and ID birds. Copy and click the URL, or just send me an email or on Facebook, and I'll send you the URL. I tried to put it on Facebook, but it wouldn't let me for some reason. Anyway, a good article, May 9th, LA Times. Okay, let's talk about birds, equipment. Now this, what you're seeing here in the picture is a chick of a red-tailed hawk. So it was quite a ways away, need a long lens to get a shot like that. I recommend a lens of at least 300 millimeters in reach, prime or telephoto. Lenses come in all different qualities depending upon how much money you want to spend, so it's up to you. And here, right, camera needs, I can't see it over here because of this little box. Let me move it. Cameras need high-speed continuous shooting if you want to get good birds and flight shots. Otherwise, any decent camera is just fine. A camera with a fixed lens and digital, or excuse me, optical a magnification of say at least 10x or more would work for birds that are sitting still. Okay, if you are going to get serious, you might want to get a flash that has through the lens metering, because when you shoot birds, birds will move into shade, they'll move into branches, and there'll be shadows across them, across the bird, and one way to get rid of the shadows is to use a flash. If you're shooting with a longer lens, you might want to get a flash extender. Flash extenders are one of the more inexpensive pieces of equipment that you can get. They fit on the ends of the flash, and they extend the reach of the light. Teleextenders will increase the length of your lens. I know Canon, which what I use, has two available, a 1.4 times and a 2x times. I think most companies that make large lenses have these available. Okay, where to find birds? Okay, basically they're everywhere. And I write here, don't kill aphids. Many birds love them. I don't know why people spray their aphids. I love my aphids. I get lots of birds coming to the roses to eat the aphids, little gnatcatchers and warblers and other birds. And so if you see them coming, they're going to come back, you know, every few days or every day to get some more of that food. So in your yard, you can plant, of course, plants that attract birds. I plant a lot of sages, which are drought tolerant, and they attract hummingbirds. Okay, parks, streams, ponds, in the air, you'll find birds. In the streams, you'll find wading birds of all types, herons, egrets, ducks, whatever. Ponds, there are some ponds around. We have some at the library in TO on Jan's Road. Simi Valley has a large park with a big pond. In the air, you look up, you might see an airplane, but you're looking for birds. There's hawks up there and seagulls, whatever. If you're down near the shore, you'll see a lot of different birds. Okay, here's some advice on what to do when you want to shoot a bird. Approach them slowly and quietly. Stay hidden behind trees, in the shadow, sun direct behind you. So if the bird is looking at you, hears you, and looks over, he won't be able to see you because the sun will be blinding him. So especially if the sun is low in the sky, you can line your shadow with the bird and walk up to him. Wear earth tones. This is true. This is absolutely, you can talk to the birders, the guys that really are out there looking for the birds. Don't wear bright colors, reds, yellows, bright whites. Try to wear earth tones, greens, browns, beige. Take note of the background. Does it make a good picture? What is the background going to look like? If I move a little bit, will the background be better? Instead of a clutter of little branches, if I move over here, there's a hole with no branches behind the bird, and that'll make a much better picture. So move around to get better background and light. Be aware of the direction of the light. Where is the light coming from? Do I want the bird backlit, front lit, side lit? If I move, can I achieve any of those? Okay, I always say that to shoot birds, you should set your camera for the highest shutter speed. This is a generalization, but I think it works most of the time. The problem with birds is they're moving all the time. You might see a bird and go, wow, that's a cool looking bird. I want to get a shot of him. And he's in a nice sunny spot, and all of a sudden he just flies 10 feet, and now he's in deep shade. So if you have your camera set up for the highest shutter speed, you still will be able to shoot the bird. If you set your camera to AV mode and set your f-stop as open as you can. Oftentimes I've got my 100-400 set at f5.6 as open as I can get it. I set the ISO as high as I can with and still retain good quality without a lot of noise. Again, f-stop wide open if needed. If you have great light and you have a really good camera that can shoot at high ISO, maybe you don't have to worry about this as much. Now, the last thing I say here is use exposure compensation if subject brightness is much different than background. Before I get to that, I want to point out that here I say ISO with good quality. Set your ISO. Now, I know that Pete in his wildlife webinar said, well, I've been told that it's good to set the ISO at auto, and then you'll get a good exposure every time, no matter if the light changes, which is true. However, if the coloration, the brightness of your subject is different than the background, then you need to use exposure compensation. If you have your ISO set on auto, you can't change the exposure. You can change the other factors real quick, but you can't change the exposure. If you try to do it, by the time you get it done, the bird will be long gone. So here's an example. Here's a white hawk. I was leading a photography tour in Costa Rica, and we stopped to look at a sloth that was on the side of the road in a tree, and on the other side of the road was this hawk. So we all went over to take a picture of this guy, knowing that he wasn't going to stay there long. Notice the forest in the background is very dark. Over here on the right, it's even darker. And so what happens here is that the bird would have been blown out if I would have just used the average metering that was on the camera. The forest in the background would have been a lot lighter, but the bird would have been blown out. So I took a couple of exposures. I comped down minus an eighth, a half, I don't remember. But I bracketed a little bit to see which exposure would be the best. So you can see here the bird is nice and bright, the background dark. Here I've darkened the bird a bit, shows more detail in the bird. So this kind of thing happens when you're shooting birds. Unlike, you know, mammals, big mammals especially that are out and about, birds are moving around and they change from one lighting exposure to another. Here's another example. This is a pelican I shot at Ventura Harbor. I went there to shoot least turns, a very small turn. It was very overcast day. The sky was very light. And I'm trying to shoot these turns with no luck. That's almost an impossibility to shoot a white bird against a white sky. But I saw the pelicans flying around and they were diving for fish. And so I got ready to shoot those guys. So here I had to do a plus exposure compensation. I had to light the pelican up a little bit because if I would have used the average exposure that the camera would give me, the pelican would have been too dark. The exposure would have been darker. So with just a little bit of a movement, you know, through the lens, I can see the needle moving to off the center position of exposure over to the right. I'm adding a little bit of light, slowing down the shutter speed a little bit to get more light. And so I was able to capture this pelican, I think, at a pretty decent exposure. Okay, nearby locations, lots of places around here. Thousand Oaks Botanic Garden is excellent. You can walk around there. There's flowers there. They got a very nice cactus garden at the top. There's big flowers on some of those cactuses, I think, right now. Conejo Creek Park behind the library is good for wading birds and ducks. Right now there's an egret there, a snowy egret. Great place if you just want to practice. You can get ducks and seagulls in flight, and occasionally a cormorant. Wildwood Park, of course, is good. It's good for walking, hiking, whatever, and hopefully you'll see some good birds there. Birding is hit and miss. You never know. You go out to shoot birds, and sometimes they're there, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they'll pose for you, and other times it seems like they can't get away from you fast enough. Another good spot is Satwewa National Park. There's a red-tailed hawk nest there just outside of the parking lot. On the left, you can look up there, and a lot of times you'll see a big hawk in the nest. The Green Belt and Simi Valley, there's wading birds, ducks, geese. They're there year-round, but it's really good in the winter. That's when you'll see most of the wading birds. Rancho Simi Community Park has a nice big pond. Sepulveda Basin, where the club takes field trips, great spot. Ventura Harbor's good. Malibu Creek State Park, many other places, just mentioning a few. But an excellent resource is the Conejo Valley Audubon website. Now, if you want to get into birding, want to learn more about birdings and where to find them, get in touch with the Conejo Valley Audubon. I looked at their website yesterday, and they are starting to do field trips. And in September, they have scheduled a beginner's bird walk. So if you're interested, you can contact them and arrange to be on these walks. I don't think you have to be a member to join the walks. Okay, down at the shore, you'll see a lot of birds if you go down to the beach. This is a whimbrel, a very common bird. He saw me, and he got okayed for takeoff. So a good place to see birds and to practice shooting. There's a lot of small birds, sanderlings and other little birds that the birders call peeps, and they're easy to find. This cormorant I shot over there at the library, the Thousand Oaks Library at the pond there. An easy shot. He's drying out his wings. Cormorants and anhingas don't have oil glands, so their feathers actually get wet and they need to dry them out. So they'll pose like this. And then I didn't even realize what I was getting in this shot till I got home and looked at it. And you can see he's upside down. He's turned his head all the way around, which makes for an interesting shot. Okay, time of day and season. Okay, become aware of birds. Binoculars, bird book, Conejo Audubon, good resources. But you have to get kind of mentally aware of birds. I mean, I've seen people that, I mean, I've been shooting birds and they don't even see what I'm shooting sometimes. And they say, what are you shooting? And there it is right there. Because they just haven't, been trained for it at all or practiced. So practice looking for birds when you walk around your neighborhood or whatever. You might be surprised. All those little birds that you think are the same, and if you really start looking at their feather colors and so on, their beak size, you'll see differences. Okay, many birds migrate through our area. For wading birds, late fall and winter is best. Many birds have a fall migration as they travel south, and a spring migration as they travel north. And of course, as you probably know, they're most active in the morning and evening, and they tend to be still when it's really warm. All right, here's a couple of shots of some wading birds. On the left is a black-crowned night heron. He's standing in shallow water. You can see his reflection there. A lot of people argue with me and say, no, he's really a great blue heron, but you can see his beak is different than the great blue on the right. Another wading bird. These are common birds. Seen them at Ventura Harbor. Okay, this one was taken at in Florida, and he was in a swampy area. The light came through the trees and lit him up like a spotlight. That was really cool. Okay, here's a super common bird that you guys see all around. It's kind of a not a very attractive bird, and the kind of bird you don't pay attention to. But I happen to see this this mama mud hen, or American coot, as they're called, with a chick, and it looks like mom is smiling in this picture at her little adorable youngster there. The green heron. This is not an uncommon bird in our area, but kind of hard to find, kind of hard to see. He is easily camouflaged as he sits on the shoreline. This guy, you can see, is waiting for a bird to, excuse me, a fish to swim by. His beak and these stripes down his beak are all set up to as like gun sights. As soon as that fish swims by, he's gonna try and stab it. Here's a green heron again. This one was taken at Central Library in Huntington Beach. My sister lives there, and so I went over there to do some shooting, and there he was. Gave me a nice shot. Notice the background. I forgot to mention, backgrounds are so important in shooting. If you don't have a good background, it really diminishes your shot. So really strive to get a good background. Like I say, try moving around, whatever, to get a decent background. The only thing that bothers me here is this stick going across the middle, but otherwise, a pretty good shot that I like anyway. What else was I going to say? Something else, but I can't remember. Oh, this is a green heron as well. Took off, went into flight. His wings look huge in this angle. Okay, snowy egrets, another very common bird. This was taken at Wainimi Beach on the left, but we have them. We have them right now at the library here in Thousand Oaks. There's one there, and occasionally I see a great egret over there, which looks just like this bird except much larger. Sometimes they do this thing with their feathers. I don't know what that's all about, but it makes for a good picture. The one on the right, I took at, oh gosh, what's the name of the place? Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. They're around. I saw him out in the water, and I thought, my goodness, he's walking on the water. I went out and looked. Here he is on a piece of wood, floating debris and preening his feathers. Here's a hummingbird, Anna's hummingbird. Hummingbirds can be difficult to shoot, especially if they're moving. But, they do stop a lot. They pause, and you can get good shots. I got this guy just stepping out of the car. There he was across the street on this little branch, and just pointed the camera and got the shot. On the right is a very common bird, a black phoebe. This bird is a flycatcher, a very large group of birds. And flycatchers, you may see them in your yard or in parks, jumping off of branches, going flittering up in the air, zigzagging, as they chase down something to eat, fly, whatever, bee, and come back and perch. So knowing their behavior is important, because if you know they're going to do that, then you can wait for him to come back to his perch and take a shot, which is what I did here. Okay, we all know the acorn woodpecker. We hear him usually before we see him, his laughing call. Very unusual woodpecker. I think it's the only one that does this, the only species. Punches holes in the bark, and then will store his acorns in there. So, you can look for these kinds of birds. They're not too tough to photograph as long as you have enough reach on your lens. Okay, here's another Anna's hummingbird. I didn't think much of this. I took this picture a long time ago and just put it away, and I took it out recently, and I thought, my goodness, I didn't like it at first, and then I realized he looks like an alien, Anna's, and I kind of think now that it's kind of a cool picture. He was doing some kind of a stretch. I have no idea how I got this picture. I don't remember. I just looked at him and shot it, and voila, this came out. Here's a couple of common birds. If you go in the hills where there's cactus, you'll see cactus wrens. Very easy to find, especially in the spring. They're calling like crazy. They're running around, I guess, chasing each other, males chasing females, whatever. Here's a couple here. On the right is a bush tit, another very common bird. Kind of an ordinary, just a gray bird, but but it makes a nice picture here when you have this flower dust, this fairy duster flower in the picture. This was taken at the Botanic Garden, and this was taken in the hills above Cal Lutheran, right where the cross is on Montcliff. Okay, if you do see these guys, these cactus wrens, and if you see them going to the same cactus or see more than one going to the same place, it could be that they're nesting or nest building. Again, this was Cal Lutheran. There's a lot of cactus wrens up there. California quail, an easy bird to shoot if you can find them. You can hear them calling in the spring. Males are calling. They also will get up high above their flock to serve as sentries. They warn the flock if a predator or something disturbing comes into the area. Okay, here's a picture again of a California quail. This hummingbird just happened to, what do they call, the kids call that, or what is it, when somebody comes into a picture? Well, anyway, that's what that hummingbird did. And then a lot of times if you're looking at a bird like this and he's looks like he might be ready to take off, have your camera ready to get a shot. This is the only quail in flight shot I've ever gotten. Okay, this is a Gambel's quail out in the desert, tending to his youngster. On the right is a western bluebird, very common bird in our area. There's a male feeding, bringing a grub to the young. The young need lots of protein. This was taken at the Botanic Garden, right next to the kids' playground. There's a big oak tree next to the stairs with a hollow limb in it, and the bluebirds nest there year after year. Okay, here is this hawk I got on my in my backyard. He came to drink water at the bird bath, and he stayed around and didn't seem bothered by me at all. Got to pick up my camera and take lots of pictures of him. On the right is another sparrow-like bird. It's this is a dark-eyed junco, very common in our area. See, and you know, I know because before I was into birds, they all look the same to me. But once you get to know them, you'll see some coloration, some personality, some behaviors. You get to recognize the different birds. He's got a grub in his mouth. He's a seed-eating bird, but he's got the grub because he's got a nest and he needs to feed the young a high-protein diet for their growth. Okay, if you're lucky enough to have a hummingbird nest in your yard or wherever, they're fun to take pictures of. Again, an easy picture. You can get fairly close and take pictures and maybe make a daily, take some shots daily and watch them grow. Roadrunner, again, a very common bird. Not easy to find except maybe in the springtime when the males get frisky. Here he's got, you can see his coloration around the eye. He's out and about. He's looking for females. He's making sounds. Sometimes you hear them before you see them. They make different vocalizations. And they're not shy at this time of year. They'll be up on top of rocks singing and hoping to attract a female. These are backyard shots. Again, I have bird feeders. Bird feeders are good to attract birds. This is an oak titmouse over here. The only time I've ever seen them get near flowers. And I just happened to be sitting around my camera, got this shot. Hooded oriole, people tell me, I didn't know we have orioles around. We do. I don't know what it is with orioles. They don't seem to sit still very long, but they do come to feeders. You can get special oriole feeders, which look like hummingbird feeders, except with bigger holes, and they do come and feed on nectar. Okay, this is a, oh my goodness, can't think of the name. But anyway, this is a bird that eats fruit, obviously, and this is mulberry. This was at the Botanic Garden. The mulberry tree is gone. They cut it down. Oh, it's a cedar waxwing, the bird. Yeah, they come in the winter and they come in flocks, but sadly can no longer go back to look for cedar waxwings in the winter. Okay, this is the same species of hawk on the left and right. These are northern harriers. The one on the right is either a female or a juvenile. They have this darker coloration The females and juveniles, males after so many years will molt into a white coloration, and that's what we have here. These were taken right here in Thousand Oaks, up in the hills above Cal Lutheran. Now, this is my backyard. This is a sage that I planted, the hot lip sage. Very easy to grow. Again, drought tolerant, needs very little water. This is a rufous hummingbird, I believe, which was migrating through a month or two ago, and I got the picture. Not a hard shot to get. You don't need fancy equipment to get this. You know, if you set up some sort of if you can camouflage somehow or set up a blind of some sort, you can get very close to them, and they'll come. If you see them feeding on the flowers, get ready for them. You may have to wait a while, but you know, you can get some good pictures. I like this picture because of the background coloration. Again, background means a lot. Okay, this was taken in the Botanic Garden. This is a hummingbird sage, which I have planted in the past in my backyard, and hummingbirds do come. Again, Botanic Garden. This is a fairy duster plant. It was late in the summer, and a lot of hummingbirds were coming to these flowers. Again, a clean background, which wasn't easy to get. There were so many flowers and these limbs crisscross all over the place. So it was hard to get a good shot that didn't have a stem or a branch crossing over or creating a shadow on the bird. A couple of shots here. This one's my backyard on the right, Buddleia or butterfly bush. Easy shot. I saw him coming every afternoon. Got ready for him, set up the camera on a tripod, and got that shot. On the left is the Costas hummingbird, which is mainly found in our deserts. They like the desert, but they do come through Thousand Oaks occasionally. I was out in Palm Springs and went to on a walk at one of the Indian places that they have set up, and they had hummingbird feeders. So I got this guy flying around the hummingbird feeder, just hand holding a lens. This is a white-tailed kite getting ready to come down. They're getting harder and harder to find around here. When they were around, they weren't too hard to shoot because they would flutter or what's the term, above their prey, and so you could watch them and get a picture of them. If you do see a fountain and you see hummingbirds coming to it, set up, get your tripod out, get your longest lens out, and try to get some shots. I've gotten a lot of shots at fountains of hummingbirds, and this was one particular day. This female Allen's hummingbird kept returning to the fountain. Actually, it was, you have to have patience. People ask me, what's it take to get good hummingbird shots? And I say patience. Okay, this is the sandhill cranes. You don't have to go all the way to, what's the name of that place? Bosque del Apache. This is in southeastern Arizona, near Bisbee, Arizona. Whitewater Draw is the name of the place. Several thousand of these cranes come there. A couple more hummingbird pictures coming to feeders. The guy on the left was coming to a feeder, got that shot. This guy's coming to the honeysuckle plant. You know, it's all ready to go. I knew he was coming, he'd be around. Took a lot of shots to get a decent one, of course, and this guy kept returning to the honeysuckle, so this was in my backyard, got that one. Just showing what you can do if you get pictures of birds. The picture on the left is an honest picture. The picture on the right, of course, is a cut and paste job, just to show you can have fun with birds. I'm not creative like some of you are. I wish I was, but anyway. These two birds, I just came back from Colorado. This is a beautiful western tanager, which I just found out today isn't really a tanager, but more in the cardinal family. And this is a red-tailed hawk. I saw him flying low to the ground. He flew up to the top of the tree, and I got my camera ready, and he jumped off, and I got this shot when he jumped off. Oops. Okay, well, that's apparently the end of the show.